Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of our podcast, the Wealth Metric Podcast, where we reveal top investors' secrets, top success secrets. And we have with us in this episode to discuss how we can achieve our outcome a fantastic lady, somebody who has done it all, who is going to give us a wealth of experience. She's an amazing lady. My name is James Egodibe, and I'm the host for this podcast. Let us just make welcome Fen Ellis King is a master in goal setting. So she's going to be talking to us about achieving our outcome. Faye, you're welcome. Thank you for accepting this invitation. Before we dive into the question, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your experience, so that our audience can relate with you, where you came from and where you are now, just to relate with you on your journey so far?
James, thank you. And first, thank you for inviting me to come on tonight. I'm very appreciative and grateful, so thank you.
Thank you.
James, I was born in New Zealand. I was born in a very, let's say, a demographic that would be in the lower percentile of people from an income perspective and goals and aspirations. Like I grew up in a very small fishing and farming community where there were generations of unemployment. So I went to school with people whose parents were unemployed. And so my classmates were people that had parents that were unemployed and didn't have jobs and didn't have, I suppose, that aspiration or that goal setting. I came from a family of primary industry that worked the land or were fishermen, farmers, and my mother had retail stores. So very much the effort that you put into the business that day put food on your table that night.
Yeah.
So I grew up, I think, James, in those early years, being hungry for something different, being hungry for what do I need to do to achieve something different than sitting right in front of me today, you know, and then transpose then to years ahead. I'm now 55 and I've had 30 plus years in professional services firms, working for the top 4 professional services firms globally, traveling the world, helping organizations realize their outcomes, their strategic goals. So I specialize in transformational change, strategic portfolio alignment, and merger and acquisitions. So I'm the person, James, that when the board and the corporate sit there and said, right, this is the strategic outcome we want to achieve. My goodness, how are we going to do that? I'm the person that gets the phone call to say, we've got a really tough job to do. It's probably going to take about 2 years to do. Can you come in and help us achieve the outcome? And that's, I suppose, been my sweet spot, James, of being able to see an overall strategic goal and understanding how to break it down and motivate others to come together, to be curious to then how to realize what it is that they're achieving. So I've had a very, very fortunate life, James. I had a child at 49. I was told for many years I couldn't have children. Then in my 40s, I was told, yes, I can turn that road. So I had a little girl at 49. She's now 7 and loving it. I'm just loving it. Just loving it. I'm not sure I really thought through, James, about having a child in my mid-50s, but it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Awesome. That's a wonderful story that you have told us. Congratulations, Finn. That's really,
Thank you, James.
Really,
I think the thing. Sorry, James. I think the thing I'd finish my story with is where I'm at now is I've had all these years of experience of helping organization achieve outcomes. And what I'm doing now is I'm not doing anything differently. I'm just doing it in a different way. I'm taking messages out, tools and techniques and ways out to help the average person and the small to medium business owner achieve their goals and aspirations with the same techniques that the large corporates use, because
Right.
it's proven. You know, they've spent the money, they've spent the time, they've proven out what can work and what doesn't
Yeah.
work. And I'm now just taking that and helping others understand and realize that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Then, in your journey so far from when you started to date, is there any tip that you wished somebody had told you when you started years back, that if you had that tip, it would have made your journey faster, better, and you would have even achieved more?
Yes. And look, there's a few there, James, so it's choosing the one, right? And I think the one that I would have really liked to have heard and listened to, because you've got to listen to these messages, right, is changes within yourself. We as humans spend so much time looking at other people. How do they do that? Or what are they doing? Or what goals have they got? Oh, that sounds like a good goal. That could be something that I could do. We spend so much time looking at others versus looking at ourselves, looking mirror imaging myself. So I would have liked somebody in my younger years, James, to say, spend some time understanding my values, my purpose, and my passion, and set my goals, having aligned my head, my heart, and my gut, then set your goals. Because I think in those earlier years, James, I set goals based on what my parents wished for me, what my environment around me steered me towards.
Awesome.
And there's a question we ask, James. There's a question that when you get up in the morning and you look yourself in the mirror, do you want to be married to yourself? You know, is the person that reflects back to you in that mirror, is that who you want to be married to? Are you in love with that person? Are you passionate about that person? Are you supportive about that person? Are you inspired by that person? Or do you wake up in the mirror and look at yourself and go, I actually don't know who you are. I don't know what you're doing that's aligning to what I'm passionate about.
Oh, wow. That is so cool. That is so cool. Thank you so much. Why do you think that would have made a major impact in your success far more than you are now?
Well, I think, James, I'm very humble but very proud of the success that I had delivering transformational change. I've delivered over $2.5 billion of transformational change programs globally. I'm very humbled by that. But James, I didn't finish high school. I don't have a university degree. I was able to achieve the success I did because I had some very good mentoring and advisors earlier in my career that said, believe in yourself. Don't compare yourself to the person standing next door to you. Be inspired by them. Get some tips and hacks and what they're doing and apply it to you, but believe in yourself. So I think, James, in answering your question, and I also put it back to yourself, James, like you're very successful at what you do and your audience group that you have around you and who you influence. And it's taking action that you know in your heart, your head, your heart, and your gut, which is the right advice and the right direction for your followers to take. It's exactly the same.
That is very, very inspiring. You see, that actually tells our audience that it's not your background that gives you success. It's who you are What is inside you that gives you success? Awesome. That is really, really good. Thank you for sharing that with us, because most of the people you see around just keep blaming their educational background, keep blaming their race, keep blaming their parents. No, it's just your determination, your passion, your consistency that will take you to where you want to be. And listen, if Finn and myself can make it, you guys out there, you can also make it. Thank you so much for sharing that. The second question is, in your journey so far in life, are there tricks, cool tricks that you've discovered that you want to share with our audience?
Yes. If I stayed on the topic of goals, James, I would say ask yourself these 4 questions. There's 4 questions that you need to ask yourself.
Right.
What is your next immediate goal or aspiration that you'd like to achieve? Question 1, answer that. Question 2, what is your motivation to achieve that goal?
That goal. What's your why?
What's your motivation? And really take the time. Don't be too quick about that. Really look at your motivation and make sure it's your motivation to achieve the goal, and that you're not having that goal because somebody else thinks you should be doing it. What's your motivation? What's the driver and need for you to achieve that next goal? And write it down. Write down your motivation to achieve that goal. Then the third question is, what is one obstacle? Just one obstacle that's stopping you from achieving that goal. Not 10 obstacles. What is the one key obstacle that's stopping you or blocking you from achieving that goal? And write that down. And the fourth question is, what then, I sort of think of, I'm a process person, James, so I sort of think of a circle. Then the fourth question is, what are you going to do to take accountability for that obstacle, and what action are you going to take to remove that obstacle to then use your motivation to achieve the goal?
Awesome. That is just brilliant. Guys. I mean, Fena has just given us 4 key steps. Write down your goal. What do you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve it? What is your motivation? Because you see, I just believe if your why is not bigger than whatever obstacle you are going to face, then you won't be able to go through. But if your why is bigger than whatever obstacle you're going to face, then you will just jump over that hurdle. And that's the third step that she's just giving to us. What is the major obstacle? Just one major. In other words, what is the domino that if you can push that down, every other obstacle will leave the way? That is just perfect. And then how are you going to take action? Action. If you don't take action, there's no way you can achieve anything.
Fantastic. And another tip in that one too, James, is when you start doing this repetitively and you start sort of making it part of your day-to-day thinking, what ends up happening is that when your motivation is something that is bigger than yourself, it just starts being a bigger driver. And it's like, I've got this thing, like, so there's some statistic, James. So the statistic says, and if you're in finance and investing, you'll love statistics. The statistics say and proven that only 3% of our population write down their goals. And only 8% of those actually achieve them. Only 10% of our age population say they actually lived the life of their dreams, that they were passionate about their life. And 80% of transformational programs fail. So my passion in life, James, is imagine shifting that dial. Imagine it. Imagine if more people and businesses were able to achieve their goals and aspirations. You know, when you're out to dinner and you're having a barbecue or you're having a drink or a coffee with a friend or a colleague, and they're talking about their dreams and aspirations. Think of all the conversations in the last 6 months where you've listened to people talk about dreams and aspirations, that everybody in the world could have a roof over their head, that everybody in the world could have clean water to drink, that everybody in the world could look back on their life and be proud and happy of the life that they've had. Imagine the life in the world that we would live in, James, if more people were able to achieve their goals and aspirations. Now, that may sound big and grandiose and all the rest of it, but I figure if I can help 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or 20 or 200 and 2,000 people achieve their goals in life, the flow-on impact that has, the residual bank balance that has with people's lives, that's the bigger motivation for me. Like, that's my motivator to ensure that I get rid of the obstacles, to ensure that I can help others achieve their outcomes goals in life.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for that insight. What's the best way you think our audience can implement what you have told us?
Keep it simple, James. I think there's so much noise out there in the market. Like, there is $355 million a day being spent globally on education, on knowledge. And as far as setting goals go, I just think, James, there's too much noise. There's too much going on out there. Just look within yourself. Take some simple steps. Look within yourself and put around you an advisory board. Put around you the advisors, your go-to people that are passionate about your goals, that have lived or walked in the shoes of the life that you're wanting. You can't take advice from someone who doesn't believe in your goals or doesn't believe that it's real, that it's, you know, like the people that say, oh, look, I'm supportive of you, but do you really think you're going to be able to do that?
Yeah. Oh, awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So take the noise away and just have around you, or ask advice from those that inspire you.
Yeah.
Don't ask advice from those that aren't inspired by you.
See, I so much love that, and that is the reason why it's good for you to have a mentor. Because if you have a mentor that you see have achieved something in life that you want to achieve, and it's somebody you trust, that mentor is going to accelerate your success, accelerate your growth, because the journey that you are about to take, he has taken that journey. He's gone through the ups and downs, he's seen the pitfalls, and it's going to help you to jump over those hurdles. Thank you very much for that insight. Is there any particular tool, apart from looking for a mentor, that you think can help our audience when it comes to implementing this?
Sorry, James, the internet's just cut out then with that question. Sorry.
All right. Okay. Is there a website or a particular tool that you think will help our audience?
Yes. Well, there's my website, James, which is fernellisking.com. Look, there's a great book I love. It's called The Human Science of Strategy. It's by 2 doctors, Dr. Bob Murray and Dr. Alicia Fortenberry. Right. They're 2 scientists and human scientists. And they really have a way of just simply defining how we as humans deal with strategy and goals, and it's fantastic.
Awesome.
But I just think, James, it's keeping it simple. It really is. And
yeah.
one thing I'd say, James, and I hadn't mentioned it before, is there's a whole thing about, you know, if you do something consistently for 28 days, it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that, because there's a whole science around how we as humans create habits, and the body and humans under stress, you know, it's debunked. Like, there's so many science that has debunked that myth. So
Okay.
it's finding what works for you as an individual,
Yes.
and it's finding that mentor, finding those advisory goals, and looking within yourself.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that insight. Is there any secret to goal setting that you want to discuss with our audience?
Look, I've got a 5-step process I go through, James, which is much what I've just gone through here. It's one thing is understanding your goal and aspiration, being the best you in the best form. Like, we don't make good decisions when our head, our heart, and our gut are not aligned. So the more we align our head, our heart, and our gut, the best us in the best form, we're emotionally strong to then be able to take good actions in our life. So being emotionally strong, creating curiosity, James, creating that curiosity, because we only know what we know. So creating curiosity to sort of create a sense of innovation and curiosity to what it is we're wanting to do. And then quickly turning that curiosity to options, options to actions, and then actions to outcomes. So
awesome.
it's quite an easy sort of step, James, and it can be done quite quickly.
Awesome. That is really good. Thank you so much for that. Is there any other juicy tip, tricks, or secrets that you want to share with the audience?
I don't think so, James. I've got, my mind's full of stuff, right? And it's how much do you say before it starts getting confusing? And I was mentored years ago by Dr. John DeMartini. I don't know if some of your audience may be aware of.
Nice guy, sure.
Beautiful guy, beautiful. And I was fortunate enough to be mentored by him, James, back in the day when he would have 10 to 15 people in a workshop for a weekend. Now, I mean, pre-COVID, you couldn't get into a seminar, you know, it would be like hundreds and thousands of people. So I was lucky to be mentored by John back in the day when he had smaller groups. And one thing that really left me with John, or John left me with, was the quality of questions you ask yourself then determines the quality and quantity of actions you then take.
Awesome.
So I think that would be something, James, that I live quite strongly by. It's not coming up with the answers, it's coming up with the questions.
Yes. Fantastic. I love that. Do you have any time wasters that most people embark on that you want to share with us so that they can avoid such time wasters?
I think having and excuse the language, James, and I'm not sure how this resonates globally, but bullshit detectors, like having a way of listening without prejudice. So when we meet somebody, whether it be the color of their skin, their demographic, the way they dress, how your first impression of them, we're humans, our visual gives us our assumptions, right? So when you go to listen to somebody, when you've asked a question and you're listening, listen without prejudice, listen without assumption, and really listen. And I think the time waster is when you're really listening, and if you honestly hear bullshit, then call it. You know, if you honestly are hearing somebody talk rubbish, find a respectful and confident way to draw a line in the conversation and just say, look, I don't think we're aligned in our conversation. I don't think we're aligned in our values. I don't believe that we're aligned in the outcome of what both of us need to achieve here. So let's get down to tactics.
All right.
What is it that you need out of this conversation, and what is it that I need out of this conversation? Because the goal that both of us should have is that by the end of this conversation, I'm finishing the question that you have in your head.
Yeah.
And you're finishing the question that I have in my head. Don't spend the time filling in the gap or the noise and telling me how good you are or what you've done or how well you've done in life. That's fantastic. But what I actually want to do is I want to know enough about you to finish the question that you have in your mind at the end of our conversation.
Yes.
And I want you to finish the question that I have in my mind. That's a good conversation.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
See, James, I told you I could go on all sorts of different directions.
Thank you so much for that. It's so cool that we are sharing all those things, and I know that it's going to help our real estate investors out there. Because if you don't set out a goal, you will just be wandering in the wilderness. And setting a goal is one thing. The other thing is, after setting a goal, you want to really take action, because if you don't take action, it will just be there on the drawing board. It will just be there on the storyboard without anything happening. So Finn has actually given us some cool steps, some tricks and tips that we would use to actually achieve what we want to achieve. Are there any final thoughts that you want to give to our audience?
No, James, I think I've gone in enough rabbit holes this evening. So thank you. And I really appreciate the opportunity to just, if I can help one person or 10,000 people, James, I'm happy. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And finally, you've talked to us about your website before, while we are discussing as a resource place. Is that all you want to say about it, or you still have one or two things to talk about your website?
No, it's fernelizking.com. I offer one-on-one mentoring, James.
Right.
I also offer group mentoring. So for businesses that have got employees and they want a bit of a motivational, or how to set goals, or how to set strategic outcomes for their business, or they've set their strategic outcomes and they're really wanting to rapidly make sure they repeatedly achieve them. I do group sessions, as well as do an online course on achieving goals and igniting change. So 3 options there for people, James, if they wish to. And I offer a 30-minute free just a 30-minute free chat. Because half the time, John, it's about talking common language. It's about, is there a connection to an individual? And that's typically what it's about, is enabling that connection.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Finn, for what you've shared, the insights, the nuggets that you've given to our audience. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode of the Wealth Metrics podcast, where we discuss top secrets that investors use to scale their business. And goal setting is one of the top secrets that, if you know how to set your goals properly and go after your goals, you will be able to scale to the level you want to get to. Once again, my name is James Egodibe, and I'm the host for this podcast. See you in the next session. Thank you.